welcome back to another episode. It's All Around Sports. I'm your host, Jay Jacinto, and we are back with another video. And in today's episode, we are going to be reacting to my Week 2 game picks. The Week 2 was great for the NFL. I thought there was a ton of great games, and there was so many upsets, some shockers. There was a couple just expected victories, but without further ado, let's get right into it and start with my number one game, the Thursday Night Football game. I already did a reaction to the game itself, but to summarize, the Chiefs won 27-24. I got this pick wrong. I picked the Chargers to win. I wasn't too far wrong. The Chargers should have won this game, but Justin Herbert threw a 99-yard interception, and that basically took away the whole momentum of the whole game for the Chargers, and it sucked all the momentum out of the team. Moving on to the second game, we had the Jets versus the Browns, and what a collapse for the Cleveland Browns in the final minutes of the game. Joe Flacco throwing 2 touchdowns, and the defense of the Browns not being able to stop the New York Jets offense. It is a little sad, but at the same time, the Jets looked really good. A touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson to give them the lead with the PAT, and then to solidify the win with an interception of Jacoby Brissett, and the Jets win this game. I am now 0-2. I picked the Browns in this game. I should have been right, but the Browns defense didn't help me this game. Now moving on to the third game, I did get this one right, making me 1-3. We had the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders. The Detroit Lions won this game with a score of 36-27. It was a pretty good game all around. I really enjoyed how the Lions played on offense. Finally, you get a good win for Dan Campbell against a solid team, I think, in the Washington Commanders. I mean, Jared Goff threw for 256 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yes, they did give up a lot of yardage to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz threw for over 300 yards, had 3 touchdowns. They did use Amon-Ra St. Brown to his full capacity. He ran for 68 yards, and on top of that, he was 9 for 116 with 2 touchdowns. I mean, he just had a completely great game. Moving on to the next game, we have the fourth game, the Bucks versus the Saints. I got this game wrong. I picked the Saints in this one, and the final score was 20-10. There was a bit of an altercation in it. Mike Evans is going to get suspended a week. Marshawn Lattimore caused the incident. I think he should get suspended a week, but only Mike Evans due to his physical altercation, shoving. I mean, it was kind of a dumb idea for him to get that physical. At the end of the day, though, the Bucks still won this game. I'm a little bit surprised by it, but Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He will manage to get a win no matter what it takes. Next game, we had the Panthers versus the Giants. The Giants won this game. Yet again, another great coaching game for Brian Daboll as he improves to 2-0, and it's already looking like the best head coach signing from the previous offseason. The Giants now 2-0, and they're looking like prime runners to win the NFC East, or at least contend with it with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get on to them later, but a great game for Brian Daboll. Daniel Jones had a solid game. Saquon Barkley, a mad game. Moving on to the next one, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the New England Patriots. The final score of this game was 17-14. The New England Patriots did win, and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense really could have used TJ Watt in this game. You could tell it was just a big loss for them on defense, as they just didn't create enough pressure. And I mean, Mitchell Trubisky, Najee Harris has been off to a super slow start this year. Mitchell Trubisky just isn't the type of quarterback that can throw the ball and beat them, and they don't have the receivers to do that right now. Yes, they have Deontay Johnson. Yes, they have Chase Pickens. I don't like Pat Freiermuth at tight end. I don't think he's that good. And Mac Jones just managed this game pretty good. I mean, 250 yards, a touchdown, a pick. He did pretty solid this game. Mac Jones is a very average quarterback, and he's good enough to get you wins, but not good enough to win you the Super Bowl, in my opinion. I view him as the next up-and-coming Kirk Cousins in a way. Next game, we have the Colts versus the Jaguars, and with this game, I am now 1-4-7, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, with the Colts versus Jaguars, I am now 1-7 as I picked the Colts this game, and they got shut out 24-0. Great game for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Doug Peterson called a great game for the young quarterback. I mean, only 5 incompletions the whole game for Trevor Lawrence. He went 25 for 30, 235 yards, and 2 touchdowns. James Robinson carried the ball decently, 23 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. I mean, T. Lawrence threw he's looking like he's pretty comfortable with Christian Kirk, who is 6 for 78 and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor just didn't get the ball enough this game. They didn't rely on him enough, and they were throwing the ball way too much. And anytime Matt Ryan was throwing, it's like every 5 throws he would throw a pick. And I mean, that's almost what he did. He was 16 for 30, and he threw 3 incompletions. So every 5 incompletions, basically, he threw an interception. And you just can't do that in the NFL and expect to win. So not looking good for the Colts through 2 weeks. Moving on to the next game, I almost got this one right, and I should have. But what a fourth quarter it was for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, Coach McDaniel there, Mike McDaniel, I mean, what a game. 3 touchdowns thrown in the fourth quarter, down by 3 touchdowns. I mean, a great game for Jalen Waddle also. I mean, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are looking like a serious threat at the receiver position for this entire league. Raheem Mostert was decent on the ground. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, though, 36 for 50, 469 yards, 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. An absolute great game for Tua, as he is showing that he is reliable in the air. Throwing for 469 yards against a Ravens defense that is very good is a great sign for this Miami Dolphin team. And I think they're going to be a real powerhouse in the AFC. And they're going to really be a good wild card team this year. I think they're going to make the wild card. And I don't think they're going to win the division only because they play in the same division as the Bills. And the Dolphins are a good playoff team right now, but they're not a Super Bowl contender in my eyes. Moving on to the next game, I have the Rams versus the Falcons. The Rams do win this game, as I am now 2 for 9. The Rams won 31-27. Simple enough, the Rams just played good this game. They did give up a lot of points late in the game, but I didn't feel like they were at threat this game. The Rams did what they had to do, and they just came away with the win. Simple enough as that. Next game, I had the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers, and there was a big loss for the 49ers in this game as Trey Lance is out for the year with a broken ankle, and honestly, I think it will benefit them because I think Jimmy Garoppolo is just a better quarterback right now, as he played this game perfectly. He came in and won the game solid. I mean, he did what he had to do. Jimmy G is still a good quarterback. He's a great backup to have. He's just a great backup. He's a good starter, but he's a great backup. And I think that he will lead this team to some good things this year. I mean, he came in and did solid. 154 yards and a touchdown, 13 for 21. Geno Smith, I thought he looked really good. They just couldn't establish the running game at all. I mean, you're starting running back Rashad Penny, 6 for 15, and then nobody else can get more yards than that. Not the best look there for the Seattle Seahawks. But moving on to my next game, I had the Bengals versus the Cowboys. Final score was 17-20 as the Cowboys win this game, as Cooper Rush in his debut for this season looked good. I mean, he was solid. I did a game about, can Cooper Rush lead the Cowboys to the playoffs? I don't think he can. The Bengals are just almost in a sense of panic right now. I think if they lose next week, there's going to be a lot of turmoil in the locker room and a lot of commotion around that whole team. And I think Zach Taylor's going to have to get the locker room straight and get them ready for week 4 if they really want to do good this year. I mean, you can't start 0-3 and expect to go to the Super Bowl. It's just very scary right now in Cincinnati. But moving on to the next game, I had the Broncos and the Texans. Broncos won it 16-9. Another scary game, though, because Russell Wilson just is not looking good, and Nathaniel Hackett is looking like an awful coach right now. I don't think there's been a worse hire so far than Nathaniel Hackett this year. But also at the same time, you got to put some of the blame on Russell Wilson. 14 for 31 is unacceptable. As a former MVP, a former MVP favorite, a former Super Bowl champion, you have to be better than that. He was put onto this team to help them get to a Super Bowl, to help them contend in the AFC West. Yes, I understand it's still early. I'm glad that they relied on Javonte Williams a lot more this game. I think you're going to see Melvin Gordon's role slowly deplenish to basically nothing. But he is looking at Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy's out, and now they're down another good receiver, and I feel like they're just going to struggle to find some offensive weapons for Wilson to use. Because if he doesn't throw it to Sutton, it's not looking too good for the Broncos offense. Moving on to the next game, I had the Cardinals versus the Raiders. Cardinals won this game 29-23 in overtime. A good game for Kyler Murray down the stretch. The Raiders, they did everything they could. They just couldn't contain the 5'2 quarterback in Kyler Murray. He just ran around this team for a lot of plays this game. I mean, that 20-second scrambling touchdown, I mean, it's so hard to stop that. I mean, credit to Kyler Murray. He uses his strengths to his strength, and it is a big weakness for the Raiders defense in terms of containing a quarterback like him. But a good game for the Cardinals nonetheless. Moving on to the Bears and the Packers. Packers won 27-10. Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears. Shocker. I should have known this. I picked the Bears in hopes that they would win after their surprise victory against the Niners in Week 1. But Aaron Rodgers showed up and he took over this game and won. Now for the Monday Night Football games, the Bills versus the Titans, 41-7. I mean, what a game for Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Diggs having 3 receiving touchdowns, and they were just throwing all over this team. They were just doing anything they wanted. The Bills absolutely slaughtered the Titans. The Titans did not stand a chance in this game after the first quarter. I mean, Derrick Henry got the rushing touchdown, but after that, it was all downhill. You got to see some of Malik Willis play for the Titans. That gave you a little bit of hope, but he didn't look good at all. It's looking very scary in Tennessee, and I think they're going to really struggle this year as they are now 0-2 to start the year. And the final Monday Night Football game was the Vikings versus the Eagles. I picked the Vikings. I got this one wrong. The final score was 7-24. The Eagles won. Jalen Hurts looking like a great quarterback. I picked him up in fantasy. I think he is going to be a great fantasy quarterback for any team that has him this year. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback by the end of the season in the NFL. I think he's going to go off. He got a great number 2 receiver now in A.J. Brown. You have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. You still have Dallas Goedert. You have Miles Sanders out of the backfield, who is a great running back. And when he's used and you give him the carries that he requires, which should be at least 15 per game, should be more like 20. But if you give him 15 carries, Miles Sanders will take over a game no matter what that front seven is, because he is so patient and he can find so many holes. I think Miles Sanders is just such a great running back, and he's so underappreciated because the Eagles don't use him that much. But with all that, my final was 5 correct out of 16. So that would be 5 correct, 11 incorrect, just shy of 30% or 33% correct. So that's about 32%. I think it's okay. I mean, it was my first time ever picking games, and a lot of the games were shockers. Like, I should have won the Dolphins-Ravens game. I should have won the Jets-Browns game. I could have won the Chargers-Chiefs game. Those were easily 3 or 4 games that I should have won, and that would have increased my percentage a lot more. But with all that said, I'm your host, Jay Jacinto. It's been All Around Sports, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.